Wow.
Okay, what's up, people? So the weather. Let's see. All right, today we've got one of our special guests. You guys have been waiting for a while to receive Mr. Cawsgurow, Bedwaaq Cawsgurow, into for a second time for the Hallah to receive him in this channel. Alhamdulillah, we made it possible today. So today's topic, we have one person. Please make sure you share with your friends, with your family. Let everybody know that today we're going to be talking about the cushitic spirituality, religion, philosophy, the base of all. Today's topic is only about creation, God, evilness, all of this stuff. So please, okay, we've got 8 people, everyone. So for those of you who joined right now, please share and subscribe. Share and subscribe. Let everybody know that we're talking about a really, really important subject, that before Islam, the essence, the creation, all of that stuff, inshallah. And I'll give the floor to Mr. Bedwaaq Cawsgurow, inshallah. And all right, I have the floor there.
And we are talking about Wa'id Salamay. Greetings to you all, and in the Cushitic mythology, we have a lot, like any other myth in the world. We have a lot of myths are not generally full of holes and contradictory, and they are normally propounded in a way that clashes with the reality that we live. But when you look at the Cushitic myth in general, you realize that it is one of the least confusing, myth, and it doesn't pretend to be the truth. It doesn't try to complicate the thing. For example, they believed in one God, that is Waaqism, the creator of the cosmos and the whole world, or the universe, that is. And they believed that Waaqism lived outside the If. If is the visible universe. And for example, when you talk about visible, if market what you're talking about actually is what the human eye can see.
Okay.
So the point is, the belief in the Waqiya is that people or human beings can never see God. He lives there. He's too big to be seen by the human eye. That is the point.
Too big to be seen by the human eye.
Yeah, it's a being that cannot be encompassed by the human eye. That is the point. So he lived outside the If, that is the visible universe. And in the story of the creation, we have a lot of we said several myths that normally one coming after the other. But the most prominent one, we'll talk about the least confusing, the most straightforward myth that we can talk about, is the one of when he created the world. The world he created in, there's Nag, Nam and Nag. Nam and Nag.
So before he created the world, you had Nam and Nag. That's what he created first.
Okay. Yeah, Nam and Nag are now the two forces. That is the two forces: the light and the darkness, or the light and the dark, and that light and the darkness. Nam and Nag. When you look at the living language now, the contemporary Somali, the word Nin, you know the word Nin.
Nin
man. Being the man, male. Then the Nag being the. These are where these words originally came from. There was Nag, the light, and I mean Nam, the night, and the Nag, the darkness. In the contemporary Somali, Nag is the middle of the night.
Okay.
The world we come from is a world where the day is 12 hours, the night is 12 hours. That is around the equator. And the middle of the night up to now is called Nag. In Somali, we also call it Sagda Dhehe. Sagda Dhehe is normally a description, but the word for it is Nag. Then Nam is used to be the middle of the day. That is 12 o'clock in the day. That is, and the word for it today is Dabar. The Somali word for the middle of the day is Dabar. So in the contemporary Somali, but initially it was Nam and Nag. The word we have for woman, Nag, is just corruption of that. When you look at the Somali language, you look at women, for example, Hawen, Soma. When you look at the spelling of Hawen and Haven, just simple changing of the spelling or the pronunciation to make it two different things. That is the way language was created. When you talk about Hoyo, mother, you're talking about Hoyo Sho, going back in the night. So the female is seen as the darkness, yeah, and the male being the light. And by that I don't mean the way we look at it today. For example, in the Abrahamic religion, we look at light and think it's a good thing, and darkness being a bad thing. That was not the idea. These were two forces that were there to balance the world.
So just to interrupt. So basically, the cushitic mythology, or let's just call it the cushitic philosophy of what good and bad is, or what creation is. So, but in the beginning, you had the creation, and before God created anything, God created light, and to balance light, He created darkness. That's the balance. Yeah. And then also within creation itself, there's that balance of dark and light. For instance, like you said, Nim and Nag. So that's like yin and yang, like you. Yeah, it's like yin and yang.
Exactly like the Chinese. But the Chinese one, for example, the moon is, I think, feminine, and the sun is masculine. But this, for the cushitic, is opposite. You say dayah. Dayah is masculine word. Yeah, and qorrah becomes the feminine. So what gives life? What gives the light is that is the confusion I'm talking about when you go deep into this myth. So these were the two forces that balance the existence of the universe, and then from the same he created Nam, Naf, that is the air at that time. Naf, Nam, Dul, the sky. Dul being the sky, and Dab, the fire.
Okay, can you repeat one more time so people can understand? So you had the Naf, and then...
with the Nam, he had Naf, which meant the air. That is the life carrying air.
So Nam, is that darkness, or that's light?
That is light.
So within light there was life.
There was life. That is the air. That then there was Dul, the skies.
The sky, okay.
And but initially it was Dul iya Dal. Dul iya Dal, up and down, that is. Okay. So he created the Dul, the skies, then the Dab, the fire, from in the same line. When we talk about myth, they don't make sense most of the time, and they communicate about a psyche that was there at that time. Then Dab, the energy that the skies, Dab, the energy were made. From Nag came Geb, the earth. Geb, incidentally, is the same name the Egyptians had for the earth. Geb, the earth, Dal, the land, Bad, the ocean, Dir, the plant, Dar, the animals.
So that was the creation.
The creation. First he had Nam and Nag, then he divided this into, from the Nam he created Naf, the air, Dul, the skies, Dab, the energy. the fire. Now dab is fire. Then from the Nag he created Geb, the earth, that is Geb the earth, Dal the land, Bat the ocean, Dir the plants, and Dar the animals.
So everyone who's watching this, you better memorize that, and you better have your books ready, and you understand what this is like. This is like the essence of Somali language. So make sure you listen.
When you look at this, for example, if I'm down today, if I'm like under the weather, and I'm not feeling well, in Somalia I will tell you Gabban Haimanta. Manta Gabban
I'm down.
Gab, I'm down. Yeah. And the opposite of Gab now is Dab.
Dab's like energy, heat, fire.
Like heat, yeah. Today I'm on fire. When you look at this now, what you realize is this is the pith of the language, the cushitic language. These terms here are normally the pith that created the whole the root that the whole language comes from. So that is the story of creation. Now, when we come to people, when he created this, it says he created the earth under the skies. That is, he left all the light, that is the numb, he left it in the sky. All the earth was very dark. Then he created a space, something like a pea hole from the sky, through which the light of the sky can pass to the earth. Okay. Now that light helped made the air, the nerve that was inert on earth, active, and life began on earth that way. That is the Somali word for the sun now is Qorra. Qor means pea hole, a place where the pea hole. That is what it means. And Rah means the name of God. Now it means the pea hole through which God was observing the earth, or through which God descended his light to the earth. So that is what they believed generally. They believed God was outside the visible universe. No human being could see him. And he created this world out of that two forces, that is Niman and Nag. And when he created that life, it doesn't. Well, for example, when we go back to these words, the same words here. Today we have we talk about people as that Soma, and we talk about people as that. But this is an ancient word, dar, meaning anything that lives, anything that moves. Dar plants being the life being two types, dar and dir. That the plants and the living beings. That is the so these are the way the least confusing myth and the most general one among the Cushitic cultures or the Cushitic people, and the way they believe the world was created. Now, and human beings, and we talk about like three. Another point is God or Waaqism being all powerful. The Cushitic way, he lived. He created by through like something like trial and error. When you look at the myth, it isn't like this Abrahamic God who is all perfect and who knew everything beforehand and created things the way they were just for the fun of it. For work, it was like trial and error. The first generation of people he created were Yama and Yug, were Yahabura. Yahabura walked on two, that they are bipedal. They walked on bipeds like human beings. They walk on two legs. They were so big that they could drink from the clouds without even the water straight from the clouds. They were that big. Then
Yeah,
he realized,
that's what they believed. Basically, that's the mythology that people are so big.
yeah, they were so big that they could drink from the clouds. Then God looked at them and realized this was not a sustainable creation. They ate everything that was on earth and denied plants and other things to even live. So he got rid of them. The second generation was Yama and Yug. Yamayug, that is. For example, right now in the living language, Yamayug in Somali means something of great quantity and quality. That is, if I say Yamayug as from when I like time, if I say Yamayug Sano, I'm talking about years that cannot be counted. And if I talk about Yamayug as a group of living things, I'm talking about things that are too many and too big in size. So Yama and Yama was one generation, Yug was the other generation. The first generation he created just like experiment, and they had abnormal appetite for eating. That is Yug. They had abnormal appetite for eating. They could eat the whole day until they got extinct because of that they ate themselves to extinction. Then Yama or Yuma, or however you pronounce it, were people who were they were big, also gigantic people, but they had this problem of the sexual desire now. They had sexual desire that could not be satisfied. So they died in sexual intercourse. Then after that, he created a generation that had a little bit of self-restraint. That is, that the Tiri, the Madanle, and the Irima, they were also gigantic. They were giants, but they were more brainy than the previous generation. And they had... okay.
Yeah, Michelle, I was going to ask you before you move on. Sorry to interrupt you. Is that in Islamic religion we have my voice is coming back to me, by the way.
Am I on?
Okay, هدا عادي وين. Okay, هدا عادي. Okay. Marka, in Islamic محل religion we believe that Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and these were gigantic people. What's his name? Dhul Qarnayn has eventually managed to put them behind a massive wall, and eventually they will come out. And when they come out, so Ya'juj will be the gigantic ones who will destroy everything, and they will drink the whole water, and then Ya'juj and then Ma'juj will come out, and they'll clear out everything else. So what you said is kind of similar to Yamayuk, similar to Yama and Ayuk, are similar to Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Even the scriptures kind of...
religions keep borrowing from each other. That is one thing. Cultures keep borrowing from each other. When you look at the myth of the world, you realize there's that, the central thread that keeps that line that they all go around, and either there's that central point they keep coming back to. So the same thing happens here. Yuma Yug. Right now, for example, in Somali language, I want to tell you how living this myth is. For example, Somali, when you are like rapacious person, somebody very greedy, I will call you Iman Yok.
Iman Yok.
Yug and Shege were the same thing. Iman Yok. And for example, the sexual desire in Somali right now was Yuma.
Yeah.
It's a living word. A living word. Yuma in Somali means sexual desire. And in the Swahili, the same thing. The Swahili people we lived with for so long, Yuma now means Nyuma, means the backside of the body. And this is now what we are talking about. We are talking about a language that preserved its myth inside it in such a way that if you just go back to it, and when we are talking about some words here, we are talking about nam, naf, dol, dal, dab, geb, and bad, dir, dar. We are talking about all these words. You will realize they are monosyllables, and they are the foundation of the Somali language or the cushitic language. And the Cushites believed that their language was revealed from Waaqh. First, they were created like they were speechless people. They did not speak.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to ask you. Go on.
Yeah. So where they were the Tiri, the Madalle, and the Irima, those generation of giants. The Irima were hunters. They hunted using the northerly wind, so they followed it to in the myth they just disappeared with that wind. Came now the Tiri and Madalle. Madalle were farmers and cattle keepers. Tiri were camel and goat keepers. That is the different livelihood. They depended on those things in their life. So what happened was they fought. They had a little bit of self-preservation and self-restraint regarding sexuality and eating, but they did not have a language to communicate between themselves. So when they disagreed on water and pasture, they fought themselves until they killed themselves to extinction. Then the generation the Tiri and Madalle, the generation that followed them were now the Gala and the Gale. Those who kept camel were the human-sized people. Those who kept camel and those who did not keep camel. From there now, these were intelligent beings. From there is when God, Waaqh, got interested in them. He realized these were intelligent beings. They saw a crow. They saw a crow crying, Waaqh, Waaqh, Waaqh. Then they thought this bird, the name that this bird is singing is the name of God. They were a nation.
How do you think they got to that conclusion? Sorry.
They were a nation, according to the myth, they were a nation that perceived God without speech.
Before
yeah. Okay. So they saw Tuke shouting the Waaqh, Waaqh, Waaqh. So from that they picked the word Waaqh and made a point of praying to him every day. That is the only word they can speak. So they go, after taking the animals back home, they meet in a place, a place in their homes, and they shout Waaqh, 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 praying for understanding, something that they can use to understand each other. That is when God now felt for them and revealed the language that is now. This is what words we are using, the monosyllables. They say like it was 113 to 103, 203 to 113 monosyllables words. Those were now the foundation of the Cushitic language. That is according to what the myth says. And now the point is, that is where when this language was revealed, for example, it was inspired while they were asleep to the whole nation. When they woke up in the morning, they could speak, and each of them could understand what the other was saying. So when they met in the morning and realizing that God had answered their prayer, they started greeting each other by saying "Deh, dah, Waaqh, dah, Waaqh." Dah is a monosyllable word. It means say in the Somali, in the current, even in the living Somali, it means say. Dah, Waaqh, dah, Waaqh. That became their first greeting, and that became their first religion. Dah, Waaqh. From Dah, Waaqh, it became Dakan Waaqh, what it is now, the religion of Waaqh. So that is how the whole story, in summarizing what we call them.
Yeah, you actually did it in a chronological order. So, so just to recap, for those of you who just arrived, Mr. Cawsgurow was telling us in pre-Islamic Somali or cushitic religion and faith or philosophy what it was based on, and basically we're not like, for those of you who are religious and who really love Islam, we're not preaching a religion or something new. We're just talking about the history of our people. Now, moving on. So in the beginning, God created Nim and Nag, which is like light and darkness, right?
Yeah.
So he created light first, and then he created darkness to balance the two. And then this balance came out life. So within light, you had breath and life, and then God created
Dul
Dul and
dul 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 ya dal.
Dul, yeah, Dul. Dul means the sky and Dul means the ground. And so within this gap, you had different creations. But God's first intelligent creations were the Yabayur people. They were really messed up people. So God got rid of them. And then you had the gigantic people, Yamayuk. So Yamayuk is quite similar to Ya'juj and Ma'juj, given the story, because Yamayuk were, just like Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they were greedy, they were messed up. And so, according to the cushitic mythology, they disappeared, or they all like went to extinction. But in Islamic religion, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they will come out. That's what we know. Followed by different generations like Tiri and the Madalla.
Yeah.
The Tiri and Madalla and the Iriman. There were other generations, but then these guys, they migrated to Arabia and them areas. For instance, even the Afro-Asiatic history supports this. So at the end of the day, then you had the Gala and the Galle, who were the intelligent creation which God liked, and He kept them. He didn't destroy them, which is like us generations came from the Gala and the Galle. So that's where the story stops. I'm going to ask you one question, Mr. Cawsgurow. Last time we spoke about the Tuke or the crow. What significance does the crow have in the cushitic mythology?
And crow represented the good. There was evil and the good, goodness and evil. It represents like when we talk about when you look at the Abrahamic religions that we practice now, we have Satan, and angels. That is, and Tuke represented Bale. Bale are angels. God created in this place that He is, outside the universe, outside the visible universe. Waaqism has an army of Bale. Bale is they have wings. That is the point. The Somali word means Bale. They have wings. That is. So they have the angels. Those are the angels. And then we have the Jafalile. Jafalile, which means the companion of the ugliness. That is Satan, Shaitan. That is, and his progeny, his descendants. Now,
so Jafalile are the Shaitan and his descendants.
Jafalile is Satan.
Okay.
Shaitan. أفعال بك الشيطان سمين. Iblis and the devil. That is Jafalile. Now, Jafalile and Bale. Jafalile are the agents of evil. Bale are the agents of goodness or good. Now, and Tuke on earth represents the Bale, or represented the Bale, the angels, and the Gumeis. We know Gumeis. Represents the evil on earth, or the devil on earth. That was what they believed about those two birds.
So the crow represented God, and the owl represented the demon.
Yeah.
According to the mythology. Okay, cool. Got it.
So, and when you look at this myth, what you realize is, and there's a lot of purity and perfection you associate with the Creator in the Abrahamic religion. And the mythology of the Cushitic speaking people, and it's not like the human aspect of God is not even present. That is, it's like we have no connection. And he just saw intelligent beings. He felt for them. He gave them a language. That's all. So when you look at it, you realize, and when you look at, for example, the toucan now, the crow, when you look the way it lives, it is opportunistic in a way, the way it feeds, when it comes to town especially, you will just see the behavior of a human being when we are talking about now, it represents Bale. It's like bringing the God, I mean, the angel aspects of God to the ground in a more relatable way, in a way that human being can relate with. That is the toucan. When you look at it, toucan is, yeah, it's a very intelligent bird, and it has behavior that normally, to borrow from you, it is in a way, it is messed up in a very human way. So from there, it can serve as an example for the other humans. That is the point. And connection between God, I mean the angels and people.
Okay. Wow. You see, I've been doing a lot of research on the crow recently, and I was really just like really like I was really astonished by what this animal can do, and it plays a really big role. You know how you just told us that it was the crow, that God or Waaqism sent these people the crow to teach them how to speak. Now, in Islam, there is a particular verse in the Quran that talks about the crow, how God sent a crow who killed another crow, I guess, to show how to bury one of the children of Adam when Qabil killed Habil. You know, so when Qabil killed Habil, he didn't know where to put his brother's body or to hide it. And then Allah sent him a black crow to show him how to do it. And that story is kind of like, it's quite similar when you look at the, like what you just said to me about the cushitic mythology. These people were people of speechless, and so God sent them how to speak through a crow. And a lot of people might say, what can a crow do? There's a Western mythology, one of these Western mythologies, right? They believe that crows used to speak once upon a time, and they lost how to speak. So, and then there's another one. Actually, I was looking through the internet, and actually, I found out that a lot of everyone who's watching this actually can go and do research. I found out that you can teach a crow how to speak. I was shocked. Like, a crow can speak better than a parrot. Like, literally, it can pronounce a human voice word by word. I thought there was a person under the table when I heard that.
And it can count to 8. It can count to 8. That is established now. Can count to 8. It partners for life. That is, a crow marries another crow, and they live for life. That is.
That's true.
No messing around, no other affairs. They live like that. They kill their elderly or the sickly. That once one is very sick and in pain, they do some massive killing. They kill the sick one, then they celebrate his death for a day. That is what they do. They gather, they sit around that day in where the other bird was killed or died.
I mean, that also sounds like humans. Looking at how Allah sent the crow to teach humans how to bury their body. It sounds like humans, because even us humans, when we bury someone, some of us, we don't celebrate, but we come together and to show the funeral is happening and all of that stuff. So it's really it's really incredible.
Yeah, like killing somebody, then mourning their death. That is a complex, stuff. It's not just a normal thing you expect of a bird to do. So that is the crow, and the respect and the cushitic myth have for the crow, and generally the black, that color of the crow.
Yeah, the black crow.
The black crow. That color, and we have like so many synonyms for the word black. which are all, you know, beautiful and seen as a beautiful thing. There is the crow. When you look at the Abrahamic religion, for example, there is that particular, there is this hatred for crow that is communal, has nothing to do with religion. For example, it was just transferred from Arabia, that hatred for the crow or the blackness of the crow, and it is now seen as a bad of or a bad of, I think, of bad omen, or these things that it is a sign of bad things to happen. All those things are cultures that are transported from other continents. But for the Somalis, crow was the sacred bird, and it is the bird that taught the Cushitic people the name of God. It taught them how to say Waq. They said Waq, and Waq responded by giving them a language, and with that language they communicated among themselves and they could understand each other. That way they became people, or they became a nation that way.
So lastly, basically, can you elaborate more on the philosophy of the Nim and Nag? Because I'm really interested in that one, if you have any more to say on that one. Because for those of you who are right now, Nim and Nag is like, it's kind of similar to Yin and Yang, but that's like the cushitic way of saying it.
Yeah, generally we are like just yin and yang, and that concept that the universe is governed by this duality, and that these opposing sides, the light and the darkness. So generally, just that you know, like, it's not as complicated as the yin and yang Chinese. It is explained, and it went to like a formal discourse, and people thought about it and improved on it for years, like that. But for the Somali one, it is by word of mouth. So most of the things are lost. Anything said about it are lost. But how do we know this thing existed? It exists in the living language today. For example, we have Nin and Nag. Nag is just adding a syllable or an A to the Nag. Nag, Nam and Nag, man and a woman. And when you look at then the way the women folk are associated with the night. For example, hadda waxaa leenahay haween, soo maha. Haween markaan dhahno waa habeen. Markaan dhahdo hooyo iyo hooyasho, waraa inta u socotaan waa hooyanaya. It means you are going home in the later part of the day, that is in the night. Hooyasho is going home, back home in the night. So hooyadeeni iyo hablaheeni, all we have in that. Ninna wuxuu ka yimaaday namti. So one thing you have to understand when you look at this is you don't have to interpret it in the way it is today. For example, there is this idea that light is good and darkness is bad.
There
is that idea here with us, inherited from the Abrahamic faith. But in the Cushitic faith, there's no difference between you. There's nothing bad. There's nothing basically bad about darkness. Okay, there's nothing inherently bad about good about light. Just two conditions or two situations or two states that the universe is built on. So it's like you should not, when you talk about haween iyo habeen isku macno inay yihiin ama inay isku meel asal ka soo jeedaan, yaan loola boodin isla markii. Haweenka waa mugdi, like mugdi being a bad thing. And
like, it's like in Somali when you say give me clear water, you say
blackness and darkness is not evil in its own معناها ما aha. Haddaad fiiriso Islaamku waxaa lagu dhahayaa Adam was created from soil, soo maha. What are the colors of soil?
Different colors, but like
Different colors, but the whitest of soil cannot be ma noqon karto
yeah.
like completely white ma noqon karto soo ma.
Ah.
And then you will see people associating darkness or blackness with Satan ama shaitan. Shaitan and madow. Shaitan su madow, and he was created of fire. So if he's created of fire, you expect him to be flaming or white actually. So maha.
Yeah.
So and marka waxa way colonized minds plus a generation of a culture that did not sieve through the religion. You know, like when Islam came, it was a religion that came to us, but it also came with the stereotype, the Arabian stereotype of black as a bad thing. Because this person teaching you the religion is white or is brown at least. So if he has something against your color, he will have something against your color. That has nothing to do with the religion. Who are two separate things. Adiga dad kala saaran weyso marka you don't see your things, you cannot separate where this person is a person and where he's objectively passing on a religion. Wa adiga waalan marka mogtahay. Marka adiga lagu leeyahay you are told Satan is made of fire. Then you assume Satan to be a black person or a dark person or a being that is dark in color or lives in darkness. How can he live in darkness? He was created of fire, so he can only live in fire and in the light. So waxaan caqligan ah that mugdi uu xun yahay aftiina fiican waa concept that came and we never questioned.
Yeah.
Marka waaqiyada marka fiiriso marka these things are not there's no judgment that haweenka xun maalinka fiican male. Waxa waaye two things that life is made of, darkness and light, and they balance each other. That is concept of nam iyo nag.
Okay. Someone asked Anas Osman, Nam equals to man, light, and then Nag, woman, dark. Now, basically, anything opposite to Nam, right? It's feminine, and anything opposite to Nag is masculine. That's what it means.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's woman or Barki. So the other question I wanted to ask you is like, you know, since we're talking about the spiritual quality of the Cushetics, you know, every religion or every faith or every Bahaki belief, they have priests, right? They have priests. They have guidance. They have a lot of, I know, like someone that guides them, someone that tells them how to, you know, seek God. And do they have something like that in the Cushitic faith?
Yeah, of course they had. When the religion came, people were separated into three categories of people. And that is Siwaq, Jidwaq, and Darre. That is what they say. Siwaq being the priesty or the class of the priests. Jidwaq being Jid means the way, the road. Waq means God. So if you want to translate, for example, jihad in Somali, waxaad leedahay Jidwaq lane.
Jidwaq lane. That's equivalent to jihad.
Jihad in Somali. Marka jid iyo waq, jidki waq, dadki waxa waaye those who there is a section of the community that were given the laws, that is the priest class. Then there was the section of the community that was supposed to enforce these laws. That were the jidwaqs. Then there were the common people who are called the re. Those were the way first division came, and people are divided into those three categories. And in the Waaqiyah faith, we have Qab and Qumayyo, people who got communication from God, constant communication from God. For example, there is a particular the clans. Among the clans, there is one clan that are known for Qab and another clan that are known for Qumayyo. Qumayyo are the women prophets or prophetess, the prophetess, and then the prophets from the men who are qob. And haddaa fiiriso the current definition of qob qaamuuska af Soomaaliga haddaa ka fiiriso waa qof ay ducadiisa ka caddo.
Someone whose prayer is
accepted. So you know this is qob iyo qumayo. Those were the people who communicated to. Then there was this idea of garabdar what like inspiration, somebody inspired. I find you knowing things that I don't, you should not know because of your age or where you come from. Then I ninkan garabdar buu leeyahay, such a thing. Iyo urkubale. Urkubala tahay. The one that is accompanied by an angel, that is the human that is accompanied by the spirit of an angel, that is the one who knows things that other people don't know, or things that no human should know.
That's a bit weird, because you know in the Arabian deities they had a deity called Bale, and Bale's job was to know, or Bale was more like a deity who knew what's inside other people. He could, and if they will curse you, they'll be like, may Bale reveal your secrets or whatever. So that's also similar to the Somali. Is that, did you say that was a spirit?
Yeah, Baal actually means an angel.
Okay.
Bale is the companion of wings, the one with the wings. It means Baal watakan of Somali. Baal
wings, yeah.
Baal I'm a bad. Bad I'm a Baal. It means a wing. Now Baal is the being with the wing. That is now the angel, the one who works for Waaqism. And the human being with the spirit of an angel in him gets his communication from the angel. So that is the point. Qof markuu hadda af Soomaaliga hadda aan joogno, if you tell me something inside me, a secret that I did not reveal to anybody, aad ii sheegto waxaan ku leeyahay war ma uurku baallaa tahay, maxaad ku ogaatay ma uurku baallaa tahay? I mean, do you have an angel inside you? That's the question I'm asking. So uurku baallaa jiray, qob baa jiray, qumayaa jirtay, people who communicated, who got their communication straight from God.
Okay. So for the girls out there, someone actually asked me, they said, can you ask, it was a while ago, they said, can you ask Ina Cawsgurow to tell me more about the Qumayo? Because she wants to know what the Qumayo's job is. And can you elaborate more on the Qumayo? So we know.
Is a female prophet, prophetess, a female prophet. She is just like Qob. She gets her communication from God the way Qob gets his communication from God. And this idea, this misogyny of women being less than a man is something that in later generations, actually something transported from other world for us. For us, the Qob and Qumayo, for example, the biggest in the myth, the longest civil war between the Gale and Gala was settled by a Qumayo called Bet. The conflict between Gale and Galo. Gala, there were those of the camel and those of the cattle and the farming. The fight between those two was settled by a prophetess by the name Qob. Qumayo by the name Bed. Beddas ad halka ku aragto is the one that means peace now. Hadda of Somali muhaddada. The natural peace, we call it Bed, natural peace. Nabat is the man-made peace. For example, the peace before war, the peace before fighting is Bed. And the peace after 1-1 or after fighting or after civil war, the peace that comes after negotiation and talk between people is called Nabat Marka. That is why in the ancient Somali, you say Bed I Bedwaaq, Nabat I Naryo. When you're talking about things, Bed means the peace that is the natural peace that came before the war. The nabad now is the peace that came because two people fought, one defeated the other, or because they sat together, resolved the issue, and agreed to live in peace. Marka bed iyo nabad saas ku kala. Marka ereygeegan hadda aan isticmaalnay nabadda ah wuxuu ka yimaaday people praying like 6th century later after bed generation, people praying to that prophetess, asking her to give them the peace that she gave, the settlement she gave, yani the way she settled the war between the Gala and the Gale. See, no bed. And the same word is in the beginning of Bedbado. What is Bedbado in Somali right now?
To save.
To save, yeah. When you are saved, you are so bedbadi. Bedda hore, badbaadada bedda ugu hore is still the name of that prophetess. So Qumayo waxay ahayd a woman who receives communication from God. Right now, the word is like surrounded with this negative meaning and connotation. But that comes from when you ponder over it. For example, I met you eating. Maybe I'm hungry, okay? I come to you eating. I find you did not give me you did not share the food. I looked at your food, until the food affected you because you did not share it with me. I was hungry. It affected you, okay? It harmed you in a way. So so when you ask yourself, currently that is the word they use for kumayo. Somebody who looks at who you are, he sees what you have, you cannot have them, so he looks at them. Looking at them now will have negative impact on the thing or on you. So hadu qofku cowro ama uu ku dhawdo in the sane mind, waxa waaya is the person who is aniga hadan ado cunto cunayo ku arko, then I looked at it, then the food becomes poison for you. Does it mean I have that power to make the food poison?
No.
Poison. It means God listens to me. Basically, that is what it means, whether it's negative or positive. It means God listens to me more than the other people. So with the negative connotation that is given, when you ponder over it, you know this is a person whose prayer is accepted. Whether it's a curse or a prayer, it doesn't matter. This is a person whose the questions that he asks God is answered. marka waa intaas inaan ka jawaabay moogi. I am speaking Somali. I don't
know. Anigu dhageysanayo su'aalaha aadka muhiimka ah kana ka aqrinaya su'aasha hal qof oo su'aal ku soo diray wuxuu yiri hoobaalayo heede xagee laga keeno kulay qof kale wuxuu i weydiiyay wax buugaga ma haysaa oo ka akhrisan karo marka aan waxaan siri macnaheedu this is historical oral history and by the way Ina Cawsgurow is someone who traveled in many regions where the cushitic people live and he encountered and studied the people, and that's why we're hearing. But if there are any books, he will tell you. Marka, if you could answer the first question, Hobala your head, where does that come from?
The poetry, Somali poetry, was initially religious things that were used for religion. Okay, so whenever you are starting a poem, it was like a prayer. Okay, and for example, there's we have like attributes, names for God. Okay, in the Waaqia religion, we have several names for the same God who is Waaq. Magacyadii ayaa marka maansada madaxeeda la gelinayaa as a prayer. Okay, so when Islam came and we still have our poetry, we did not remove those things. We just left them there. So waa muus waxaan ay dhahaan haddaad dhahdo مثلا meecaad randis ma garatay the gods of inspiration. Okay, markii dadkan outsiders, when they study these things, they think these are particular gods. For example, like this is the god of poetry, this is the god of... No, these are different names for the same god. But in every field he was given a particular name. So waxa waaye magacii oo magacii oo markaad fiiriso saarka مثلا yoosaa la dhahaa. Saarka wuxuu ahaa it is emotional. Saarka waa taqaanaa hele waataan lahaa na 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 caraysuu dhihi jiray anna waa qaada marka and saarka wuxuu ahaa it was supposed to be used for the emotional preaching, where you want to preach somebody something that you want them to inay qaataan, ama when somebody is sick and you want to treat them psychologically. ma garat tii hadda la soo raray waad aragtay saarka hebel saara macnaha hebel yoosaa la saaray mingis waa taqaan saar yoose mingis, all these things they mean the same thing. So qofka su-aasha weydiinaya, poetry was initially a religious device used to communicate religious messages. Inta uu noqonin maaragtay something for all and sundry.
Okay, so qofka wuxuu weydiiyey what Majiran, like, are there people who still follow the Waaqi religion? And where have you been to? What regions do they still worship these religions?
Waaqi way jiraan, although they are now like going to an extinction. And way jiraan, northern Kenya, that is the region I visited many times. Northern region, among the Rendile people, there are people still practicing Waaqi, although still ego Waaqi practice garaynaya, there is a lot of influence from Islam. For example, you will hear them shouting when they are praying. You will hear sometimes talking Allah, other ego isticmaalaya arkaysa. But mostly their prayer is in their language, and the god they pray to is Ebe or Waaq or Waaq or Waaqle. So inta badan waxay dhahayaan markay baryaan way isu imaanayaan, somebody stands before in front of them, prays, they say they are amin. Saas tabtan adiga islaamka si u tukado si ka yara duwan yay u tukadaan. They have 5 times they meet in a day, they meet like 4 times to pray in congregation. waxaa kaloo ay leeyihiin meesha ay ku tukadaan waxaa la dhahaa naabo. The place they pray is called naabo. Naabo in Somali is meesha tukaha ku dhala. Tukaha meesha ku dhala naabo la dhahaa Soomaaliga. Iyagana meesha ku tukadaan hadda waxay dhahaan naabo. So it's a living religion, it still exists, although uu yahay on the last leg oo kale uu si dhamaanaya macnaha si rafanaya. But they're there.
Okay. I'll go. So the other question I wanted to ask you is the connection between when we're speaking about spirituality, the Waaqism, and Egyptology. Egyptian deities. Because I think one time you've mentioned some stuff. You said there are some relations between Egyptian deities and Waaqism deities, or Waaqism philosophy, religious mythology. Could you touch on that a little bit and elaborate so people can know about this as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah, Waaqism, the way it looks from the mythology, it came before the Egyptians. Before the Egyptians.
Okay, it came before the Egyptians. Okay.
Because that is the land of Waaq, the land of God, where the Egyptians used to call home. The land of Punt, the land of Waaq, the land of God. Sheegi jireen ayay ka tageen. Now Egyptians were like a generation after the Gala and Gale fight. Dadkii baxay went northward. The religion of Waaqism. So this was like the progeny of the Egyptian religion. the progeny because haddaa fiiriso ereyada hadda raac oo kale raac oo masaarida you know it was a message that was communicated by the Greek to the world so waad aragtay waxa waaye R-A apostrophe soo ma arag markay sheegayaan the Egyptian god Ra soo maha af Soomaaliga rendin leh will call rah ama ra with ayn or with ha they use interchangeably waxay isticmaalayaan qorrax iyo qorac gowrac iyo gowrax markaad dhahda gowrac markaad dhahda waxaad ka hadlaysaa slaughtering for ra معناها this is the same god the Egyptians god kay dhihi jireen ra somaha ama ra ay dhihi jireen is also the is a cushitic god it's not a different god it is the same another name for Waaq ama ebe another name for Waaq or ebe so waxaad ku arki kartaa Somali words that are currently used for example gowrac go iyo ra waaye maxaad goysay neefkiyaad goysay yaad u goysay rac baad u goysay word or legal words like gar rac garti rac hadda markaad dhahaysaa qof waa wacal maxaad dhahaysaa Soomaaliga you say waa garac waa hadii sama waa hal aar baa laga qaaday for marka hal aar baa laga nusqaamiyey garac garac waa wacal somaha garacna waa garti ilaahay gurac fiiri gur waa left side of the body somaha
صح
gur is the left side of the body racna waa ilaahay somaha gur rac af Soomaaliga maxay the wrong thing wax waa gar ama waa gurac waa garac ama gurac somaha hebel uu guracan yahay marka dhahda in the current Somali uu guracan yahay waxa uu khaldan yahay uu guracan yahay ha wax guracan hadda waa gur iyo rac la isku daray gur
garac oo wacilka ah iyo gurac so garac means bastard right and then what does gurac
wuxuu ka imaaday it has along story meesha ku jira the southern dadka markii loo kala qaybiyay Siwaaq oo religious group ah Bedwaaq oo the military ah iyo Darre oo commoners ah these two the Siwaaq and Bedwaaq married from each other they intermingle iyaga isdhex galay they left the commoners alone so commoners ki waxay ahaayeen marka cawaan they became primitive because dadkii diinta haystay iyaga israacay iyaga laga tagay so commoners kas had
those two religious left together and they became one
okay. the soldiers and the military I mean and the priest class married from each other they left these people they segregated against these people dadkan marka gaaray u go'een marka waxa jiray wiilka for example you marry today when you marry people will come from the gel dadka gel la jiray wiilishi gel la jiray they will come because there was this belief that every woman when she dies she will be buried by men so gabar walbaba ragga gar rac bay ku leeyihiin gar ilaahay dartiis ay ku leeyihiin for sexual favors for example every man has a sexual favor to ask from a woman because at the end of the day he will bury her that is a woman will not bury another one so this culture waxa iska lahaa waxay dhahaan darre dadkii hooseeyay marka wiilasha geela soo ordi gabadhii yay u imaanayaan
ninka gabadhii sorry the Darre people were the one with the primitive culture who believe that a girl has a right
so gabadhii la dhacaya waa la tagaya waxa la soo qabaya 1 month wiilasha geela soo qabaya ninkii la soo celinaya anugu u hore marka waxa la dhahaa garac macnaha garti rac baa laga soo gooyay you get the point am I making any sense here
kind of يقولون فهمي بس لكن
the camel people will come hijack, or what do you call it, abduct the lady, run with her. They will have her for a month. Then they will bring her back. The firstborn is now Garra, because Garti Ilahi ayaa laga soo gooyay uu ragga ku lahaa dumarka. That was a primitive culture. oo lagu sheegi jiray the commoner people, not among the Siwak and Jidwaq people. So that is the way it waxaan meesha ka dhasheen. Marka gurac iyo garac ila hadadan in Somali they mean right and wrong. Gur means the left side of the body. Gar means the wrong side, the right side of the body. Not the right hand. Right hand waa midig ama miyig ama macaan yig. The left hand waxa way bidix ama biifdix. But the right side of the body waxa la dhahaa gar. The wrong side, the left side of the body waxa la dhahaa gur. Gurac iyo garac waa marka.
So gur is bad, gar is good.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Marka gurac maxaa waaye?
Gurac waxa waaye gurti Ilaahay. Anything that is in the right side of God is good. Anything that is in gurac, the right side, the left side of ra is bad. So marka gurac af Soomaali hadda waa khalad marka.
Gurac is good. Cool. Got it.
So that saas ahayd marka
Okay. All right. Let me ask you. Let me see what people have. Someone asked you because I like to get people are getting really interested. Qof wuxuu dhahay qorah means he said qorah mean qor as in peeking hole and rah as in raha. Okay. Qofka wuxuu fiirinayay wuxuu weydiiyay macnihi qorah
rah is God. P corner waa meesha duleysha, the P hole where you can look at things. So that is the way it was. Af Somaliga isagoo idilba hadaad fiirisa, most of the words in the cushitic language they are made of 2 or 3 words different. All
Okay. What other when it comes to the Somali language, right? There are people who say that, Horus, Horus, the Egyptian king or deity, does it have any significance within the Somali mythology or cushitic mythology?
Horusu waxa waaye waa kii kala soma is an eagle, the black eagle.
Is it?
Yeah. Horusu is generally the color first. Waa colorka.
What's the color marka?
Colorka black, dark color.
Okay.
So Horuse waxa la dhahaa a type of eagle of Somaliga. Eagle ka midabkaas laha Horuse la dhahaa. So when you look at these things, you see one concept of something markuu Egyptian gaaro completely get diluted or it becomes more complex. Macnaha it's built on waa la philosophize garayn. It becomes more sophisticated. Ama macniha laga diri, then it becomes something that doesn't mean a lot. So it means origin can ahayn, and the Cushitic were the initiators or the people who started this kind of religion. Egypt gadaal ka tagay. For example, the concept ay ku dhisan tahay, the concept oo ku dhisan yahay the Cushitic months, that is the solar months, Cushitic months, Cushitic days, a could be concept for how 7 days. 7 days a week or 7 days. Now that 7 days waxa laga keenay and waxa laga keenay tukaha. It can count to 7. Marka halkaas from the crow.
How does the crow count to 7 marka?
It is
God, that was 7.
And hadadan it is I think there is even experiment lagu sameeyba nimba guri ilmo ku haysta 2 people went in, one came out, another one remained inside. the tuke did not follow him. It just stopped waiting for the other person to get out. When it was the 8th person, I think they went in. 8 people. The 8th was left inside. Now tuke got confused and came in without the so from there they deduced that it can count to 8. 8 count, but the Cushitic people knew it can count to 7. Marka 7 days a week, halkaas ku dhisan yahay. The first month of the Somali months, the Somali solar months, waxaa la dhahaa Tukadalis.
Okay.
In the middle of July.
That's interesting.
In the middle of the July is when the Somali year starts. Waxaa la dhahaa Tukadal ama Tukadalis. That is the first time in East Africa you will see crow moving around with its kids. Ilmi isagoo la duulayaan. Tukadalis la dhahaa bishas. It is the first month of the Somali kale. North waxay dhahaan Dabshit. South Dabtur. South waxay dhahaan Dabtur. But Dabtur and Dabshit are description of the event. Lakin bisha magaceeda waxaa la dhahaa what happened celebration ka dhacaya waaye. Lakin bisha magaceeda waxaa la dhahaa Tukadalis. Bishi tukaha dhalayay. So everything in the we pray. The prayer we pray, we call it tukasho. Soma. Samaynta wuxuu tukaha sameeyay. The first month of our year is called Tukadalis. Our week was copied from the crow. Okay? And our week waxa waaye waa 7 days oo laga keenay xisaabta tukaha intay ku eg tahay laga keenay. Our whole life is based on that 7 days. When Islam came to us, another funny thing, when Islam came to us, the Quran is how many juz? How many parts?
The Quran ko badan yahay. I can't remember.
30 parts waay. Waa 30 juz.
Sax.
30 juz waay, waa 30 parts. Somaha. Somalida we reduced it to 7. Suwaca la dhahaa. 7 suwac.
Okay.
You hear Quran Khamisad, Quran Jum'ah, Quran Sabti, Quran Arba'o, Quran Magarate. Somali, we divided the whole Quran into 7. So this 7 thing is a thing of ours. Annaga macnaha meel kaste 7 way naga gashaa macnaha. And to an extent, an old man was telling me, and a Somali, by just from his subconscious mind, hadduu ku dhaho 7 nin baan meesha ku soo maray. He says, I saw 7 people there. For a Somali, it is the truth. Because they cannot lie about 7, he says. So it's like something that this 7 is something that we base our whole life on. Quran ki xitaa markuu noo imaaday 7 u qaybinay. Now this means we had a religion that was based on that 7. Islamka ka hore. Marka 7 days a week marka Egyptian ko ugu horeynay this 7 days a week. Or week oo laga dhiga 7 days. Af Soomaaliga wuxuu ahaa waxa waaye koobaad lamin bile koodar hakisbile solab or 7 days ki ah. Magacyo badanna way leeyihiin. It comes in different names and different and from Sunday to Saturday or Saturday your solab ah. Marka waxaan ahayn among the first nations, the Cushitic speaking people, among the first nations that conceived this idea of 7 days a week.
Wow. And Marka, one time you told me about Somali. Is it astrology? Like, you know how South is always better than North and the religious aspect of it. Can you elaborate on that?
waxaa jira kusin iyo kasin.
So the religious aspect of it, okay.
Kasin waa north. Kusinna waa south. Marka waxaa jira intaan hadda fiiri af Soomaaliga waxaan dhahnaa Waaqooyi iyo Koonfur Soomaha. Koonfur is a name of a star, a southern star, a star in the southern sky. Ya koonfur ama goonfur. And Somalida intay hadda qaadan, before we took these words like koonfur and Waaqooyi ama Wuqooyi, we had dacalka shishe, dacalka kore iyo dacalka hoose. Dacalka hoose being north, dacalka kore being the south. So always our outlook of life was southerly. We were looking toward the south. The world, our map was not this Western world map that normally puts all the concentration on the northern side of the earth, but ours was one that looked to the southern side of the earth. So Kasin waxa waaye, Kasin waa north, Kusinna waa south. Marka fiirisa ka iyo ku in Somali, the way we are using it, ama the way we use today. Haddaan ku dhaho, I'm sorry guys, I'm using a lot of Somali. And haddaan ku dhaho مثلا, haddaan dhaho Khalid waa nin ay sharafta ku idishahay. What do I mean?
Khalid, someone who has respect, something like that.
Way ku idishahay. He has all the respect. Okay? Respect in totality. Okay? Haddaan dhaho way ku haddaan dhaho. Haddaan dhaho way ka idishahay, what I mean is the opposite.
The absence of respect, totality.
Waa nin sharafta ka idishahay. Waa nin edabta ka idishahay. Ka idlaatay. So he doesn't have it completely. So Kusin and Kasin were used in that way. Kusin means the positive side of the sun. Kasin means the negative side of the sun. And when we are talking about the sun comes from east, it goes to west. Somehow from the way we see it. Marka, the negative side of the sun, waxa laga wadaa all the northern hemisphere now. The positive side of the sun, waxa laga wadaa we lived on the equator, in the middle of the earth. Okay? So the negative side of the earth, we meant anything from the equator to the southern side was the positive side of the sun. So the north, from the equator to the north, was the negative side of the sun. So that was the idea was, the philosophy was this: for prosperity, for life, for things to do with the earthly possession and earthly prosperity, and prosperity in this life, we depended on, we believed the more we went to the south, the more the Cushitic speaking people went to the south, the more prosperous they became. The more they went to the north, the more religious they became. Okay, so the northern side, for example, in now the place I come from, Wamo, and northern side of the country, or anything north, is called Tuket. Tuket means the land of the Tuket, or the place to which we pray, to the side which that we pray. Tuket wuxuu ahaa dhinci Ilaahay marka. That was now Waaqooyi, the land of Waaq. Okay, so we had to remain like what we are talking about, Niman and Nag. We had to remain in the middle of the worldly prosperity and the divine prosperity. So that is why we remain in East Africa, waa aragtay, from the Horn of Africa to the southern Kenya. That is the coastal Kenya, place like Lamu. There is a Lamu County in Kenya. There is a forest called Boni Forest. Bon watakana. Dad af Somali wax u dhow ku hadla. Boni Forest. From Boni Forest to Alula in the Horn. Intaasaan u dhaxayna marka. When we went farthest, we went to the Horn of Africa, and we did not macnaha maso Kenya. Waxaa jira Southern Cushites. Southern Cushite came up to the Kilimanjaro, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. They live there. So the idea is, the reason why the Southern Cushite lost their language, like Rikwe, the reason why they lost their language is because they left the land of Waaq. They left the land of Waaq and went too much to the south. And Middan or Haddafir Egyptians were obsessed with what? They were obsessed with the land of God. The land of God. They are so obsessed with it. The land of God. They're so obsessed with it. They used to talk about it like a place to go. Look at the sign for the land of God, or Waaqoi, the land of that. The sign for that was the Somali crow. Up to now, it is the Somali crow. You will not find Somali crow. It is called dwarf raven. You will not find it in other parts of Kenya, for example. You will find it in northern Kenya, Marsabit County, along Lake Turkana. That is Galambay, our origin, our ancestral land. From Lake Turkana to Somalia or into Djibouti, you will find it. The black crow, the Somali crow. Inta Sujoga, that was the sign of the land of God. Markaas waxaa loogu yeeray Waaqooyi. Now, wordkii ahaa Kasin, which meant the north. Waxaa bedelay Waaqooyi, which means what? The land of Waaq. But initially, wuxuu ahaa Kasin iyo Kusin. And these were the forces that meesha inay u dhaxeeyaan la rabay. They were not supposed to go too much into the south and not to go too much into inay northka sii aadaana lama rabin, inay southka aad u sii aadaana lama rabin. They remain there in the land of Waaq, where they have the divine connection with God and they also have their worldly prosperity. And waxaan ka hadlaynaa fiiri, for example, the camel, the camel. Markaad Hargeysa joogto, look at the size of the camel when you are in Hargeysa.
Okay. They're kind of small.
Yeah, travel from Hargeysa, come to Kismayu.
Yeah.
Look at the camel again. The camel in Hargeysa will look like calves. The more you go to the Arabia, when you go to Yemen, for example, the Somali camel is bigger than the Yemeni camel. The more north you go, it becomes so. The elephant, look at the elephant. The Indian elephant. It's very smaller than the African elephant. And the African elephant, the more you go into the south, the bigger it gets. The same case for the lions, the buffaloes, the rhinos. The more south you go, the bigger they get. So that is the point. These Cushitic people, when they are talking about Kasin and Kusin, they used to our name, the name Cushites had the laleeyahay. Kusin. And then there were these cultures that lived around us, actually borrowed these directions from us. For example, the Swahili now, the word for north was Kaskazini. Kazini. Kasin.
So they borrowed that from. So basically, within Swahili, there are some cushitic words that they borrowed. From
the word for south was Kusini. Okay. The other words for in origin, the other two words, for example, Bari and let's say the east and west, they borrowed from Arabic. Maghrib iyo Mashriq. Magharibi Mashariki. Lakini labadan inaga Kusin waxa waaye anaga fiir waan leenahay Kasin, Kusin, Bari ama Baxay. Bari iyo Bugux. Bari being the east, Bugux being the west. Ama waxaad dhihi kartaa Bari Baxay, like the Rendile call it Bari iyo Baxay. Bari means where the sun comes from. Baxay means where it goes to. So that feels and this idea of on the same line.
What about the word Galbed?
Galbed, a description. Galbed is from Galbasho. Qorraxda meeshii aaday.
So yeah, because when the sun is setting, fully get one Galbana. So when the sun is setting,
the side is good. Galbed ha. Waa tilmaan waay ma aha erey maha ereyga dhabta ereyga af Soomaaliga waa Bugux. ama Bogox
west
ama Baxay meesha qorraxda u baxda Bari iyo Baxay.
I hope everybody's taking notes, yeah, because this is going to happen again. This particular verse is only about philosophy, spirituality, religion of the past. Okay, so take notes, inshallah. Okay, okay. So sorry, I can't get it.
Marka Firi, this religion, the Waaqi religion, you will find it is like the foundation of even the Abrahamic religions. What came after it? Marka Firi so. And Islam, Christianity, Judaism, bidixda waa la kala yaqaana sama right and wrong, right and left, maxaa leeyahay yamiin iyo yasaar carabi ku dheh. And for example, and in the Cushitic mythology, the reason why we eat with our right hand, is in the word miyig. And so in Somali we say midig, soma.
Yeah, right
midig.
hand. Midig. Yeah.
Midig, soma.
Yeah.
The other one we call it bidih, soma. Rendil they call it mayig.
Mayig for midig.
Ha. Mayig iyo bidih ama gurro. Mayig iyo gurro oo gur ah. Somaha. And nimankii ka horreeyay, there is a language that is completely lost now. The good thing is I met one of the last people who ever spoke even a small aspect of it. Waxaa la dhahaa waa elmolo, waa eldays, nimanka eldayska la dhihi jiray. And for them, north was Kashin.
Okay.
North was Kashin. West south was Kushin. Kushites ka meesha laga keenay way marka. Anaga marka hada Kushite la leeyahay, Kushin iyo Kashintaas laga keenay. Marka midig marka dhahayn anaga ayaga waxay dhahayaan macanig. Macan af Soomaali waa la yaqaan ilaa hadda, macandi ma taqaan. Food, anything eatable is macandi.
Macandi, I never knew that. I'm learning myself. I'm learning.
Macan marka waxa waay macan wax la cuno waaye. Macan yig waa cun. Yig is it. Macan marka this literally the midig that we talk today comes from that word macan yig, eating food. The left waxa waay beef de.
Okay.
Hada waxaan bidix somaha. The F eliminated from there. Asalka waxay ahayd beef waxaa way dhaq. Haddaan ku dhaho wax baan beefay hadda in Somali, if I tell you wax baan beefay, I mean I washed it, I made it clean, I cleansed it. Somaha. Dhexna waxaa waaya stool, wasaqda and macnaha excrement-ka qofka ka yimaada ayaa dhex ah. Marka beef waxa waay tii wasaqda lagu dhaqayay, the one to wash your backside, the one to eat.
And to eat.
Yeah,
so
the one
food
to
eat is to eat. This hand.
Yeah, the whole philosophy now was to separate people, not to eat their shit. That was the idea. To separate.
Of course, if you're using this to clean yourself, you have to eat with the right hand.
Yeah, because there was scarcity of water always. People could not wash themselves the way they do today. So the whole concept was based on people helping people not to eat the shit. So when you look at the dislike for the left hand, for example, when you look it with that and that telescope, the cushitic one, you will realize it had a meaning. It was a way of avoiding diseases. It was a way of making people, live a healthier life, a time when everything was scarce. So Haddad Firisa, when you look at the marka aragto marka diimahan gadaashan ka imaaday, the hatred for the same thing is there. But uma laha dhiriska aan u leenahay innaga, like that idea, the idea coming from up, realizing that this was an idea taught to the laity or the common people so that they don't mix their stuff. In
Islam, so just to summarize, in Islam or in the Abrahamic religion, we're supposed to do everything right with the right hand side, eat, whatever, you know what I mean? But then as Muslims, we use all dirty stuff with the left hand side, so later on you can wash it away. So basically, within the cushitic mythology and the cushitic religion, it was moral to eat with your right, because they called it ma'anyik. So ma'an means food and yik means to eat. So this was meant to eat food and to do all good healthy. And this was bif deh. So bif is like what's bif again?
Bif washing. Bif
is to wash and deh is to like dirt basically, right? And impure stuff, right? So you use that to clean with your left hand side. So it's more like this is what Islam teaches us. So you can still see. For me, I feel like Waaqism is more like what's the word? People who worship one God, right? Is it monotheism?
Yeah, monotheism. It was monotheism based on the concept of worshiping one God. Yeah.
So it was a monotheistic religion, and for a monotheistic religion, it must have certain aspects to recognize.
Yeah,
Staying away from impurity,
yeah,
keeping following a certain way of life,
yeah,
and looking up to a creator above them. So this all adds up together.
yeah.
Okay, so I keep saying the last question, but I have many stuff coming to my mind every time.
I,
The other question I wanted to ask you are two questions, by the way. Ali Kia Jashif Harmaso. The first one is like cats, This is a really question I wanted to ask you a long time.
mhm.
Bisadaha.
Ha,
In Egypt, like cats have a lot of significance. Also in
ha.
Somalia, we love cats. We just love cats, and we call it Bisat Nyanyur. So with the names of the name cat, Bisat or Nyanyur, or animal itself, what significance does it have?
No, it's there's nothing. In one time,
Mm,
a Rendile old man
mm,
told me something about black cat,
mm-hmm,
and from the way he was telling me, it
mm,
sounded like a foreign idea
mm,
that he could not separate from the same stuff like the Swahili stuff like black cat is
mm,
is devil or
mm,
devilish. That idea, I thought that is the only person I think in my time and gathering these things I met
mm,
talking about even cats. So we don't have anything. And
nothing.
for example, the animals, the way they looked at the animals is animals were creation of God. Hadda
So,
waxaan dhahnaa dad iyo dunqaar sooma haddadan dad iyo
okay, so
dunqaaro.
what does
That is
that mean?
Dunkaro. Dunkaro is the animals that is anything that is not a human. Any
Okay,
living thing that's Dunkara. Marka labadaas and umakala kikalaisnen, and we believe that we were the chosen, animals on earth, given speech, given the brain, and the whole philosophy was based on conserving these animals. For example, we chose particular animals, tamed them, and controlled their production. For
Mm,
example, cattle, camel, and goats, horses, things like that. They did
mm,
that. Then the rest of the animals, they wakia. There's something across board in the wakia religion. People were not allowed to hunt.
mm. Okay, why?
Hunting
Why is that?
hunting was frowned upon. The reason
Mm,
is, and these animals, for example, the goats, the cattle, and the camel, you
mm,
can control the production. For example, markay ku dhashaan, like you have 10 calves, among them two are, let's say, female. I mean, eight are female, two are
mm.
male.
So,
What they used to do is they will slaughter one male, leave the other for reproduction, or for reproduction, later reproduction. استعمالا like a bull for
mm,
later times. And so when you want to eat meat, you eat the male animal, for
mm,
example. The female, you leave it for for reproduction, so that you could control the meat, where the meat you eat comes from. When those are the animals you keep. The other animals, you are not supposed to interfere with them. Those who are not yours, they belong to God. You are not
ah,
supposed to interfere with them, because the idea is, if you start killing gazelles, for example, and you don't control the production, their معناها production كودا كما ورهيسد. You don't know
mm,
where they come from.
mm,
You are not the one who is breeding them, so you can like drive them to extinction easily. Okay, and it is easy to hunt. For example, in the we know now, like, and for a person to give you, for me to honor you, for example, if you come to
mm,
my house, I'm
mm,
hosting you.
mm,
If you come to my house and I want to feed you tonight, for if you are a person very that I hold highly, what I will do is I will give you, I will feed you kurus gol sided jira.
Okay, what does that mean?
Kurus what?
Yeah, like is the hump of a camel.
Yeah, gol is the camel that he camel, the stallion, okay, or the bull that is not used for reproduction لما استعمالين. It's not used for mounting the camel, or it's not used for transport. وبركب. It's not used for any other purpose. It lived. I looked after it for 8 years. I will feed you its ham to tell you I respect you. This is that is the culture. I looked after it for 8 years without benefiting from it, and now I feed it to you.
Wow.
That is the kind of work ethics. For example, we are brothers. There is a dry spell, and then there is a drought, the famine, animals don't produce milk, we are all hungry, okay? Then I start hunting. Okay, I cannot persevere, I start hunting. You will wait for me. You will mark the time for me. You will wait until it rains. When it rains, if my son comes to marry your daughter, you will give him the choice to join your family or to forget about your daughter. The reason being, your father has hunted in the dry spell. Why did he hunt? Everybody else was persevering. Why did he kill the gazelles and the giraffes? Everybody else was supposed to persevere. So that was the kind of religion we come from. A religion that was very at peace with the environment, with the ecosystem, that did not, like a religion, a nation that did not fight with the lion over a gazelle. You don't fight with the lion and the cheetah. Those are their food. Your food is in the cattle and the goats that you rear.
Okay, so in the Somali culture, basically, just to sum it up, is that we, like those who hunt, right? We're seeing lowly people, because at the end of the day, they were hunting animals which, like, they did not breed, animals which are open to any danger. They were already open to danger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
Exactly.
The idea was like and waxa aad cunaysa waa wax aad adiga soo saarta. How do you say that in English?
So
it's what you participated in the production or in breeding.
You only eat what you work for.
Yeah, exactly. You eat what you work for. For example, when you're eating a goat, you know when it was born, how old it is, okay, how many siblings it had, okay, you know the name of its mother, the name of the bull that produced it. You know everything about it. So you eat what you participated in their growth. You don't eat things that are natural, that belongs to other animals. For example, if you start killing the gazelles, what will happen to the lion? That's the question. And the cheetah, and you leave these animals for those. So this was a religion that was very much at peace with. There was no hunting for spots. There was no hunting for food. And some people will look at this and think that, these are people who never used resources that God gave them. No, for them, they believe these resources, they are resources that I'm given control over, to breed, to reproduce, to rear. These are the animals, these are the livestock that I have. The rest don't belong to me. They belong to God. They are the food of the lion and the hyena and the cheetah and the leopard.
And so, if you hunt those, you are seen as a lonely person and an outcast.
Outcast. Yeah, mostly if you hunt, you are excommunicated in a way that you excommunicated taksir. You don't marry from that family. You don't marry from other families and you lose the protection, the clan protection. The clan protection,
Wow.
if you don't have the clan protection, you could not, for example, the man who hunted animals and the rapist, the man who rapes, and the thief were normally dealt with in the same way. They were banished. The hunter, the rapist, and the thief, the one who steals. Those are the people who are completely banished from the society. Once you lose the clan protection, you cannot own camel, you cannot own livestock. Now you will be reduced to beg for food or to keep hunting. So that was the way they lived.
That's really interesting. So the last question, this is the last question, okay? You know the stars. You know how every religion, Zoroastrian, Egyptian, Hindu, all religions, they have something to do with the stars, and certain. Is there something like that, like something like stargazing in the? Because in Lake Turkana, where they said where there was some gravestones and stuff like that. I forgot the name in Kenya. There are some spirals, right? And some anthropologists were highlighting these were cushitic people who lived here, and these had like gravestones pinned to the stars and stuff like that. So I think I'm just wondering, do you have any information on that? Something to do with the stars?
And mostly it was more of astronomy than astrology.
Okay.
More of astronomy than astrology. And they use the stars for their calendar to know when to expect rain, to know when to expect drought, and to know the position of the moon, for example, and around the stars. That was they initially it wasn't something to do with star divining or astrology or associating that the star, when it is there, it is causing this or that. All what they used to, basically what they used to look, the way they used to look at it was, these were the sky bodies, the bodies in the sky that could tell when a particular season is starting, when another is stopping, and when to expect rain, for example, and when to expect the start of the drought. So there's more of when there's one thing, let me tell you, in life up to now, and when you look at a poet, I do poetry. Poets normally surround themselves with aura. In the Somali or in the cushitic culture, that idea that he did not sleep last night. He was preparing this poem, okay?
Yeah.
And he prepared the poem, and when he recites it, it is so beautiful. But he doesn't want to tell you, I prepared last night. And actually, as a human being, you don't even care. Once something is good, you don't care how many hours I spent preparing it. It is good, it's good. Yeah. But the poet will try to make things like it is a divine gift that is given and is communicated to by God, The same things happen to people of every arcane knowledge, like people who know stars. When you talk about Faliska, and the star, for example, people who do Fal normally are stargazers, people who look at stars.
Okay.
So what they do is the knowledge, a knowledge that is can be comprehended by anybody, a knowledge that they can teach. They don't use it that way. They will confuse you with numbers on the ground, on earth, to tell you what they viewed last night. Okay, for example, in the sky last night he saw this year the rain will start 20th April, for example. 20th April, the good rain will start. According to his prediction, when he looked at the stars, he realized this is the year when this was supposed to start in this day. Now, today in the morning, he will come, sit down, jot some numbers on the ground,
some fake stuff.
Yeah, and tell people to just look divine and look, like invincible, and to look like he has some skills that nobody can learn. And the same thing for the Gois, the man who treats people by herbal medicine. Instead of spreading the information, what they do is they sit on it.
Okay,
Even
and they'll make it seem like they got magic powers.
Yeah, if the herb is growing in your backyard, he will not introduce the herb to you. What he will do is he will bring the herb, recite something that don't even mean anything.
Yeah.
Okay, perform some rituals that don't exist, so that you think you are cured because of the other things, but it's just because it is the herb. So these are the normally what killed this information, the cushitic knowledge of life. What killed is side practices among people. And up to now, for example, ask any Somali, can poetry be learned? Any poet, any Somali poet, ask him, can poetry be learned? wuxuu ku dhihi maya waa hibe ilahay. Most of them.
Yeah, it's a gift given to
Yeah,
God.
but gift, when we say gift, everybody has that gift.
Yeah.
Okay,
talent.
is how much you prepare for the gift, or how much you are naturally prepared. For example, if you are born in a household of 10 poets, for example, where the mother was poet, the father was poet, the uncle was poet, the aunt was poetess, everybody spoke poetry. You are well prepared. You know, you are like 10 times more prepared than the rest of the people. So what information can in our laws and our culture and our cultural history, we had delay marka fake people who use it fraudulently that way, and made it like about themselves. You know, like this is just information anybody can learn. It's something you can teach to people. Something everybody can comprehend, and do exactly what you're doing. But what you do is, so that you become the only sheikh in the village, you make it's like something that you are receiving communication from God straight. Adiga keliyana waxaan yaqaana, ma dadka kalena ma baran karaan, cirku kasoo degaa. That is what we normally do. That is how our most of our things are lost completely. For example,
like astronomy. So astronomy could have been, by now we could have been ahead of people when it comes to astronomy, but
of course, like هذا feel. For example, and let me tell you another aspect of cushitic selfishness that normally in astronomy, in herbal medicine, everything gashan kushigi. You know, Somali musicians. Somali musicians, okay? Most of the musicians don't even write their songs. The lyric belongs to somebody else. Okay?
True. Yeah.
And in the other world, for example, in Sudan actena. And when the singer gets old, okay, he can no longer sing. What he does is he looks for younger people to carry this song. Younger people to, uku transfer the song. So he brings a group of younger people, examines them, interviews them. The best of them, he selects the best. He teaches them the song and the way to play the guitar and everything. So the song becomes everlasting. Okay, that way. One person to another. Why should the song die? But compare that to the Somalis. And when a guy does karaoke of your song, for example, you have a song, and Adan Ali Samatar and Hassan Adan Samatar aya heestiisa anigu yara aroos ka qaaday aan dhahna. Okay, I'm not Hassan Adan Samatar ma haysti kaligiis. Waxaan leeyahay, as I'm using as example, for example.
Yeah, I understand.
Heestiisii anigu aroos ka qaaday aan dhahna, soo maha. He will get angry. Heestaheenniya meelaha lagu qadqaadanaya. So we personalize everything like that. That is example. That is what happened to our astronomy. That is what happened to our medicine. That is what happened to our history. And for example, when I live, I will want to have this knowledge, information kan ina haysto. But when macnahaas ina ku shaqaysto, but I don't pass it on. What I do is I die with it. Why? Waxaan rabaa magacayga in la sii sheeg ninkaas waxaas uu aad u aqaanay oo khatar ku ahaa. Marka waxa waaye some aspect of cushitic selfishness that killed this culture and this this nation to its core maxay la hadda fiiri ninka geeda goyska ah Soomaalida kan geeda goyska ah kan lafaha kaba okay and he doesn't transfer that information markuu dhinta waa la dhintay hebel ninkii Xasan hebel ninkii meeshan joogi jiray alla ninka muxuu dhirta kale yaqaanay intaas uu ka dhiman in the other world people transfer the information they transfer the knowledge they transfer everything anaga marka tan la dishay waa taas.
But sometimes also we can say that there are young people who are not ready to do that because the world is changing and advancing, and they think the advancement of other people or the other world is more suitable. Some young
always the sin is the sin of the fathers. Okay, adiga fiiri kolmaan hadda wax adeer ma ku ahay Soomaa kolmaan hadda wax ku sheego iga diiday. When did I ever tell you something good? Or I had other ready. There's nothing like that. The sin is the sin of the fathers. And this is one thing that needs to change. If this nation needs to be anything in the world, or it has to think collective. It has to start transferring, like information. It has to start thinking like Hesta Isaada Ali Qadi, okay, in 1970s. maanta waxa la rabaa inay jirto gabar yar oo sidii ay saada u qaaday karta the has become eternal everlasting gabadha ay gabar kale ka sii qaado nin haduu gabay qafiri another thing for example any Somali poet I know doesn't macnaha most of them don't allow their children even to become poets while they are alive some okt most of the Somali poets maanta nool most of them don't accept their kids to be poets.
Why?
Anugis inuu ka garab hadluu diidi macnaha wiil inuu ka garab hadluu diidi waa craziness meel nooga imaade ma garanay it's like the last 5,000 years 500 years ayayna haysatay oo aan ahayn and we lost almost everything. For example garta ninka gooya Soomaha ninka garta gooya the one who knows the Somali hair very well doesn't take along his 10-year-old kid. Geedka marka u socoto waxa la rabaa inaa wiilkaaga sii wado Soomaa take him to let him learn, let him hear, let him have information that he can transfer later to his kids. That is the only way to make a nation eternal. Lakin haday dhacdo every person hubriska iyo narcissismka intuu ka korbato every person wants to be the star markuu dhintana I star that died waa dib marka dhibkaas ayaa ku dhacay astronomy the herbal the medicine and every xoolo dhaqashadii for example there are people who can treat animals macnaha who know how to treat all the diseases that affect animal in particular place dadkii marka ma laha dhaxalsiin ma leh they don't want to be in their knowledge to be inherited iyagaas raba inay la dhintaan marka taas dhib waxa waay Somali kalima haysta all the cushitic speaking people are just similar hadda hadii la dhaho dhanka boorantana dhaantaba iyo ormada when it comes to the laws iyo xeerka iyo marka la dhaho
This life is brilliant and thought-provoking. I love Bedwaaq Cawsgurow as a great guest. Please bring him back more often, inshallah, better than the Habash Semitic glorification we were subjected to. Aywa, inshallah. Yeah. Waxaan rabaa inaan kaa codsado marka before we leave. Dadku ma sheegin laakiin Ina Cawsgurow he's a teacher and a poet and also in multilingual poet English and Somali. So I would ask you if you could do us a closing poet to close with this mahalaha with the live stream today. Maybe English or Somali but Sar hadii kale waxaan lahaa something like that.
Okay waxaan sameynaa and horta waxaa jira buugaa jira I'm working on a book on these issues aan ka hadlayday Bedwaaq baa la dhahaa and wuu soo dhow yahay insha Allah sanadka dhamaadkiisa ama by March next year insha Allah inuu iga dhamaada inaan wada insha Allah soo bixi doonaa. And our point is this: I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
I don't have any problem with Islam and people who practice Islam. I practice Islam. Our point why we recite these things and we did this is you cannot be a strong person unless add that tired. You know, you cannot be a Muslim unless you are a person. Can you be a Muslim unless you are a person? You cannot.
Yeah.
For you to be a person, you need to have a roots. You need to have your both feet on the ground. You need to be a human being who has a history, who has a background, who has a backdrop, who has a voice, or independent his faith. Markaas waxaa noqon nabiga wuxuu yiri kuwiina ugu sharaf badan Islaamka. Okay, the most honorable among in the Jahiliyyah will be the most honorable among you in Islam. Marka waxa way for you, for the youth, I'm telling you this: for you to be a person standing on his 2 feet, 2 legs, you need to embrace where you came from. Inaad aqbasho, inaad is ogolaato, inaad dadnimadaada qirta. 1. And then you become a better Muslim, because you will realize and there is a lot of things that are propounded as Islam and have nothing to do with Islam. People's idea of Islam is sometimes preached as Islam. People's interpretation of Islam is given to you as Islam and you swallow it completely. It's not okay. Waxaa la rabaa inaad leedahay inaad tahay qof Muslim oo laakiin dadnimo kala leh inaad noqoto. Tan kale, and the poetry I will give you here is Qoryalo. I will choose Qoryalo here.
Okay,
Qoryalo is in the same line with what we are talking about.
Yeah. So what does Qoryalo mean?
Qoryalo in Somali means the camel, the she camel, that is the cow camel, the milk camel, the one with no wooden bell. Tan aan koorta lahayn. Qoryalo waa hal aan koor lahayn. Marka waa geeraar. Gabay marka geeraarka wuxuu ku saabsan yahay, I'm talking about the problem with our nation or the black people generally. And waxaan ka hadli haynaa and Qoryalo is a play that I did it in verse. I did it in verse. It was like 332,000 words play of Somalia. I transferred it to I condensed it to less than 2,000 words of poetry. Marka waa sheeko dheer. Laakiin waxaan rabaa, I want to use the introductory part, the introduction kana rabaa inaan inta ku isticmaalo. Qoltigeel for lumid. Qoryalo bashiishto qof indhool loo diray. Qabar wuuba soo helay. Qoonkii sugaayo qarow lama rumeeye tan qufay tu kale qabo. Kala laba areesaha qaylada dhacaysii qablankiyo wajaaliga qabaricab ku maahow. Qiiqa aadabayso qandigali isleedahay. Qorigu ka shaaciyo qarafkii shidaan garan. Now I will interpret it in my poor English. Waxa waaye a milk camel without a bell. Lost with in a labor pain. A milk camel in a labor pain. Lost with her calf without a bell. Magarat wa hasha wa korlaan. It lost with her calf it's in labor pain. When camel are in labor pain, they run away from the other camel. So it runs away with her calf. Now to return it to the to reclaim it in la soo celiyo hashi in la soo helo to find it. And qof indhool qoryalo bashto qof indhool qabar wuu soo qoonki the nation that sends a blind man. Now ninku ka dhumay hasha way luntay, it lost with a calf. It is in labor pain. It is lost with her calf. And the people that the camel belongs to sent a blind man
To search for it.
Yeah, to retrieve it, to bring it back. Okay? And they expect him to bring it back. Look at this camel. It has no bell.
No.
The person looking for it has it's blind. It has no bell, and it has the camel is bellless, the man is sightless. So what happens here? They will never meet. He will never see that camel. What is this is the nation we come from. We lost our life like that she camel. We lost our life. We sent the sightless of among us to look for that camel that is bellless, and we expect them to bring it home.
Well, that's deep. That's what maybe it touched me somewhere.
Qoryala bashiishto qof indhoo la loo diray qabar wuuba soo helay qoonkii sugaayo qaraw lama rumeeye tan qufaye tu kale qabo. Marka taas waxaa waaye qalalaba areesaha qaylada dhacaysiyo qablankiiyo wajaaliga qabaryacab ku maahow qiiqa aad dabayso qandi geli isleedahay qoriguu ka shaaciyo qarafkii shidaan garan. waxaan raadinayaa translationkii inta inaan kusoo dejiyo. meeshan se lagu dhejin karaa kii kale
meesha commentiga taabo kadib comment ahaan usoo qor. Anaa marka waxaan taabanaya inta kusoo dhegay marka
waxaan raadinayaa translationkeedii qoryalo. marka midda kale marka waxaa waaye the next now is like say waxaan ka hadlaynaa qalalaba areesaha qaylada dhacaysiyo qablankiiyo wajaaliga. qalalaba areesaha, the noise we hear, all this noise we hear from the people of the world. qalalaba areesaha qaylada dhacaysiyo qablankiiyo wajaaliga qabaryacab ku maahow. qabaryacab yaa waaye? qabaryacab is the one who depends on news, you know. He depends on news. He hears all this noise, all these clamors, all this news, and he thinks that inay tahay wax oo macnaha inay tahay wax run ah. qabaryacab ku maahow qiiqa aad dabayso qandiga intaan kusoo dejiya soo maha.
So post so there comment caadi usoo kadib
senta eri
soo markaan fiiriyo.
haye ma heshay ma kusoo gaaray? maxaa dhacay?
sorry qadka meel qaldan baa taabtay.
waka marka labada eray aan isku xiray. a male camel in a calving pain lost with a calf without a bell. If the role to find the twain and retrieve a blind man is ordained, that he will return them to the coral, you nation that wishes to maintain hope for such news, your faith is vain. Point plied, now hence the next thing queen. The hero and the media player, the loud farfis and the shared on air, the aping jigs and jibes to square. You news junkie moth caught in the glare, the smoke you strive to handle, wheedle and store in satchel. I know the wood from which it sight, and the match used to urge. Well, so gara umalintas.
I'm gonna post that now.
marka qodobku waa intaas marka oo ah intaas inala sheegarayna oo ah mid we hear everybody speaking their narrative and we end up thinking that there is something called true narrative. Inuu narrative jiraba.
صح.
waa qodobka waa pointka labaad. Pointka koowaadna waxa waaye we are a nation that lost their life. A male camel in a calving pain, lost with a calf without a bell. If the role to find the twain and retrieve a blind man is ordained, that he will return them to the coral, you nation that wishes to maintain hope for such news, your faith is vain. Point tan qufaya tu kala qaba way marka.
Okay. وأنا صوت درارة ولكن it's not letting me.
maya haddii macnaha waxaan meeshan waa aragtay laakiin sama
way soo dhacday private ay usoo dirtay.
intee ahayd marka meesha comment
waxaad taabataa post comment meesha ku qoran tahay.
post comment
xagga page ku soo dir.
ay post comment ma arki laakiin meel aan ma arki chat ha arkaa
sax private ma kan kala ku dhufo marka chat da aragtid mid private kan kala ku dhufo
kan comment ka miya may laakiin si loo sheeg gareeyo ma laha umalayna
copy paste ma ku dhigi kartid
may meel isoo baxaysa oo ku qori karaa ma leh.
All right, أنا أستوعب. Give me 1 sec.
أيه.
كاسو معها.
mid soo mid tan ka korana waxaa waaye qodobkii u horreeyey marka midda hore waxaa waaye qooryeelo bashiishto qolti geel afoo lumid qooryeelo bashiishto qof indhool ah loo diray qabar wuuwa soo helay qoonkii sugaayo qarow lama rumeeye tan qufaytu kale qabo tan aa soo dhigtay waxaa waaye marka qalalaba areesaha qaylada dhacaysay qablanka iyo wajaaliga qabaryacab ku maahow qiiqa aad dabayso qandi geli isleedahay qorigii ka shaaciyo qarafkii shidaan garan midka ka horeysa marka waxaa waaye our situation this is now dhiirigelin ah war waxaan la qulqulinaya some things that are told as the gospel truth are just other people's narratives. So what you need to know is you have your own narrative and use it and be part of
So I'm gonna back. Not so sure. I got the whole thing. Okay. Because I'm using my phone. Laptop كي قدامي.
عفوا هاي.
دمرة. كاستوان سما. لكن صوت نمستر صوت دراي. عادة لكن people can read on the comment.
marka yar baa arkaa meeshan waxaad sheegayso macnaha waa khuraafaad hadda waxaan ka hadlaynay mythology soo maha
it was mythology yeah
we are talking about mythology we are not talking about annaga kama hadlin quraan ilaahay soo dejiya ka hadlayna ma dhihin we are talking about myth and what people believed before Islam so isma diidaysa ayarko
yeah Marka, inshallah, let's see if you have any questions from the comments. Okay, qof wuxuu dhahay Mola waxay dhahay before Waaqism what did we worship?
We don't have any myth before Waaq. We believe that Waaq we were the they believed that they were the first people that Waaq had a communication with. That was immediately after creation, and people progressed in such a way that when you look at this Waaqi mythology, you think is in accordance. It goes like it's like something like they believed the evolution of people from معناها people were progressing from one stage to another until they were brainy enough, they were intelligent enough to have a language. That is when God now gave them his anshi waxaa la dhahaa معناها this ethics, xeerka iyo laws and things to do, the don'ts and the do's. marka markaasaan marka wax naga horreeyay inay jiraan ma aaminsano, macnaha waaqiyada ma aaminsano. They were the first people that God communicated with. That's what they believe.
Okay. qofkan wuxuu ku dhahay ma jira wax aad soo saaraysid oo ade in books you're gonna write marka
a book is on a book soo socdo, Bedwaaq soo socdo. A book is coming. adiga hadduu daaho insha Ar-Rahman March next year, it will be out.
Inshallah, the book comes out. Inshallah, I'll be one of the first people to broadcast it here to let you know that where you can find his book. Inshallah, it will be really interesting. And
how long did it take you to write the poem? I am not. I will not pretend that and I cannot now. Poetry is about the language you have. Haddaad afka iska dhisto, and the minute or the hours you take, it doesn't matter. Waxa waaye you need to be prepared first. Marka preparation ka hor qaatay yaa ka weyn waqtiga aan gabay ku sameyn kara hadda. Waxa ka horreeyay all those years of selective memory that were involved. Marka and marka I tell the young people, this is what I want to tell you guys. And don't get when you see poetry and you see it is a bit something that created with time, so it looks so invincible, untouchable. But all you need to do is put time. Okay, put time and listen to poems, read poetry, stuff like that. Marka adiga waxa arkaysa markii dambe karo. I believe everybody can write a verse. That's what I believe. All you need to do is prepare yourself. Preparation kana ma aha the time you take on writing a particular poem. No. Preparation ka waxa waaye that background ka iska dhista, language ka iska dhista, and the kind of the words you acquire, the philosophy, the things you think about, the deeper meaning of life you acquire. Waxaas waaye, waxaas marka poetry ka dhiga.
Okay, question: do we have any simple symbols like mythical creatures that carry deeper messages apart from the crow?
Like subhanada, to be subhanya wa taqan. This is subhanyo, a snake that we don't kill. Somalis don't kill. Yajira. And we revere the eagles, for example. We respect the eagles. A snake, one snake, subhanallah, that is harmless. It doesn't bite.
Okay.
Hajira eagles kasajira, hajira falcon kajira, and falcon kajira. Things that are associated with a divine. For example, tukaha waxaa aaminsan yahay inuu yahay awoodi faraaci dhashay. Faraaci waa waqti xidiga gaar ah ay jireen time a bad spell. Marka tukaha inuu yahay awoodi faraaci dhashay, wax noocaas oo kale marka way jiraan, way buuxaan. There are a lot of them.
Okay. بس وايه انت تدخل بين ان شاء الله تعود من سمينين هذه ما استمتعنا ان شاء الله. The next topic will be, today we spoke about the spirituality, the wording, the language, the linguistic. Inshallah, maybe next time we might be talking about the people, the culture. We're going to go deeper, and the levels and migrations and stuff like that. And then by the time we finish this, inshallah, it will be great. marka aad iyo aad u mahadsan tahay inshallah. Thank you everybody for coming through. Please make sure you subscribe, share and like this video. And if Ina Cawsgurow inshallah releases his book, I'll be one of the first people to let you know. I'll be interested to buy that book inshallah. خير بين رجينا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أنا ما سنت.